Cotton. Senator Gillibrand and then Senator Rounds.
Thank you, gentlemen, for appearing before this committee, and thank you for the closed session prior to this. I don't know if you fully appreciate how much the American people do not support this war. It is an unauthorized war. Normally, when you come to Congress, it's a way for the American people to be. Why do you continue to prosecute a war that the American people aren't behind?
First of all, I appreciate the opportunity for that closed session where we had a, unsurprisingly, very different discussion than we have here with the cameras on. We support this
because my job is to represent New Yorkers, and I can tell you, when I talk to them all across my state, they are furious, and they expect me to explain to them why they are furious.
And Senator,
Welcome back to the front lines of political accountability. Today, we are witnessing what can only be described as a high-stakes interrogation within the halls of the Senate Armed Services Committee. This isn't just a routine hearing. It is a fundamental clash over the soul of American democracy. On one side of the mahogany table, we have Pete Hegseth, the sitting Secretary of Defense, the man who commands the most sophisticated and powerful military force in human history. On the other, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, a lawmaker who has built a reputation for a lethal, precision-guided questioning style that leaves no room for bureaucratic maneuvering. The atmosphere in the room is electric, and the stakes could not be higher. Senator Gillibrand didn't come here to discuss abstract military theories or engage in polite diplomatic pleasantries. She came armed with the most brutal proceeds imaginable. In her opening salvo, she explicitly labeled the current military campaign an illegal and unauthorized war. To understand the gravity of this accusation, we have to look at the cornerstone of the U.S. Constitution. Article I, Section 8, clearly states that only Congress has the power to declare war. Yet, as Gillibrand points out, the Pentagon appears to have bypassed the legislative process entirely, committing American resources and lives without a single formal vote of approval from the people's representatives.
And I would just like to know why you have not sought the support of the American people, and 3 out of 5 Americans are against this war today.
I believe we do have the support of the American people, and we have briefed regularly what this mission looks like and why it's critically important that we undertake it. And I would remind you and this.
Pay close attention to Pete Hegseth's body language and strategy here. What we are seeing is a classic Washington evasion tactic. When a high-ranking official is backed into a corner regarding public opposition, their first instinct is to weaponize secrecy. By pivoting to briefings and closed sessions, Hegseth is attempting to create an elite tier of truth, one that the average citizen isn't allowed to see. His subtext is patronizing. We talk differently in the dark. Why are you playing the hero for the cameras? Now, this is a calculated attempt to undermine Senator Gillibrand's credibility. He wants to frame her as a mere political performer, someone who says one thing behind closed doors and another when the red light of the camera is on. It is a tactic designed to make the public feel like they don't have the full picture, and therefore their opinions are invalid. But Gillibrand's counterstrike was swift and fierce. She refused to let him define the reality of her constituents. She stood her ground with a devastating statistic. 3 out of 5 Americans, the clear majority, currently oppose this conflict. For Hegseth to dismiss this dissent as a desire to declare defeat is a profound misreading of the American public. It suggests that any questioning of the Pentagon's budget or strategy is synonymous with failure.
Not allow AI to make final targeting determinations, even when nuclear weapons are being used. That's a huge issue that we need to discuss. So I want to start from the top, Secretary Hegseth. They are furious.
And Senator, when I talk to Americans, and especially when I talk to the troops, they are grateful for a president who has the courage to take on this threat after 47 years of what Iran has done, targeting and killing Americans, and what it would mean to the world if Iran's nuclear ambitions were actually achieved. So the question I would ask to you and to others is, what is the cost of a nuclear-armed Iran? What is the cost to the American people if the world's most dangerous regime has a nuclear weapon?
But the truth is, they don't want war coming to this shore. And when you do a decapitation operation, the likelihood is going to be exchanged in the United States. There's no evidence that we are safer because of this war. We did not have any evidence that Iran intended to imminently attack this country.
This is perhaps the most chilling moment of the entire hearing. The conversation shifted from the cost of gasoline to the potential for global catastrophe. We need to look closely at the term leadership targeting operation. In military parlance, this refers to a strike intended to eliminate an enemy nation's entire top leadership and command structure in a single instantaneous blow. Hegseth attempts to use the Iranian nuclear threat as a rhetorical shield to justify the integration of artificial intelligence into our most lethal strike capabilities. His argument is built on fear. What is the cost of a nuclear-armed Iran? But Gillibrand highlighted the central weakness in that argument. If the United States uses AI to launch a high-speed decapitation strike against a nuclear-capable nation, the result won't be a clean victory. It will be an automated, near-instantaneous retaliatory strike against the American heartland. The paradox is terrifying. The Pentagon wants to use AI to make war more efficient and faster, yet Hegseth refuses to provide a clear, ironclad promise that a human being will remain in final control of the nuclear traitor. He is asking the American people to accept the risk of total annihilation in exchange for the speed of an algorithm. This isn't a defensive strategy. It is a high-stakes gamble with the future of humanity. This debate isn't science fiction. It is the reality of modern warfare. We already use automation for threat detection and surveillance. The real question is, where does human judgment end? Once military decision-making is compressed into milliseconds by machine learning, the window for diplomacy and restraint disappears. History is full of examples where human intervention prevented nuclear war during false alarms, most notably during the Cold War. If we remove that human failsafe in favor of AI efficiency, we are removing the only thing that separates a technical error from a global holocaust. Gillibrand's demand for explicit human control is not just a policy request. It is a demand for the survival of the species.
Response to targeting that has resulted in the destruction of schools, hospitals, civilian places. Why did you cut by 90% the division that's supposed to help you not target civilians? And do you know the impact of a strategic failure at a war when you have so many civilian casualties? You may have tactically completed a mission well, but strategically is not meeting your goals because of the harms to civilians. What is the cost of that?
Let's leave time for an answer.
In the world of high-level politics, certain phrases are used as stop words, terms meant to end a conversation and project moral authority. Hegseth uses the phrase ironclad commitment to do exactly that. He wants to reassure the public that the U.S. military is the most ethical force on earth, but Gillibrand shattered that narrative with a single undeniable fact: 22 schools destroyed and a 90% budget cut to the very department responsible for preventing civilian casualties. This is a glaring contradiction. You cannot claim to prioritize civilian life while simultaneously firing the people whose job it is to protect it. Hegseth characterizes these cuts as streamlining or efficiency, but Gillibrand reveals the truth. It is a deliberate indifference to the human cost of war. She then delivers a masterclass in military logic, using the maxim, tactically winning, strategically failing. In plain terms, you can hit your target with 100% accuracy, a tactical win. But if that target is in a school or a hospital, you have just created 1,000 new enemies and destroyed America's moral standing. That is a strategic disaster. The long-term security of a nation isn't built on how many bombs it can drop. It's built on legitimacy. Every damaged school and every displaced family becomes a permanent part of a region's memory. When the Pentagon ignores these collateral costs, they aren't making America safer. They are planting the seeds for the next 50 years of conflict. Gillibrand's criticism isn't just about humanitarianism. It's about the fundamental failure of a military strategy that prioritizes short-term kills over long-term stability.
Lie about the range of their missiles?
How much
Because I saw a 4,000
How much
kilometer
more will you
missile
ask
get
American
shot
people
at
to pay for this war?
Diego
right
Garcia.
now, do you want it $1 billion a day? Do you want it $2 billion a day? You're asking for $200 billion more to fund this war and to make sure we have
didn't ask for $200 billion. I don't know where you got that number from, Senator. I think you got it from the news, which you should be careful what you read in the news.
Okay, Mr. Hegseth. Here, Secretary Hegseth. Here's a few more. Let's talk about how
Let's talk about the economic reality of this conflict. $1 billion a day. To most of us, that number is so large it becomes abstract, but that money is a choice. It is money that could be rebuilding America's crumbling bridges, funding rural health care, or securing our own borders. Instead, It is being funneled into an endless cycle of munitions and hardware for a war that Congress never officially sanctioned. When Hegseth mocks Senator Gillibrand for reading the news, he isn't just insulting her. He is displaying a deep-seated contempt for anyone who dares to audit the Pentagon. It raises a terrifying question. Does the Secretary of Defense truly not know the details of a $200 billion request, or is he intentionally being evasive to avoid a public backlash? Gillibrand's closing argument strikes at the heart of the taxpayers' frustration. Freedom isn't free, but it shouldn't be a blank check for decades. The phrase freedom isn't free has been used to justify any expenditure, no matter how wasteful or poorly planned. Hegseth is weaponizing patriotism to force the public to sign away their children's economic future. When the government treats taxpayer money as an infinite resource for war, while claiming there is no money for domestic needs, it is more than a budget dispute. It is, as Gillibrand's questioning suggests, a breach of the public trust. Budgeting is the ultimate expression of a nation's priorities. By demanding $200 billion more without a clear objective or timeline, the Pentagon is moving from defense to inertia. Without clear metrics for success, the spending will never stop and the accountability will never start. As we look back at this confrontation, the patterns become clear when a Secretary of Defense dismisses public concern as performance, when he is willing to let algorithms decide the fate of nuclear deterrence, and when he guts the oversight meant to protect innocent lives while our own economy struggles. We have to realize this is no longer just about one war or one policy. This is about the arrogance of a military-industrial complex that has completely detached itself from the people it serves. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand did something vital. She stripped away the jargon and the classified excuses. She forced the Secretary of Defense to stand in front of the people and answer for the billions of dollars and the thousands of lives being spent in their name. Power will always believe it is above the law until someone is brave enough to drag it into the light. This is why these hearings matter. They are the last line of defense for a representative democracy. Even when no immediate policy changes, the record remains. We can see who asked the hard questions and who offered the bribe. Hollow excuses. Accountability isn't a single event. It is the constant, persistent act of asking why and at what cost. What do you think? Is $1 billion a day a price you are willing to pay for a conflict that was never authorized by your representatives? Are you comfortable with AI making decisions that could lead to a nuclear exchange? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And let's keep this conversation going, because the moment we stop asking questions is the moment we lose our voice. Don't forget to like and share this video to help others see the truth behind the headlines. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the halls of power. The truth needs people like you to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.